Hi, my name is Cheryl Niekamp, and I'm a training consultant here at Career Builder. I'm excited to host this informative webinar on interview tips with the experts. The goal of this webinar is to give you a sneak peek into the mindset of recruiters and to provide job seekers with tips for excelling in your next interview. Our recruiters will share inside scoop on what makes a candidate stand out in an interview, how to answer various types of questions, and follow-up advice for post-interview next steps. For this session, I'm really excited to introduce you to two of our fantastic recruiters here at Career Builder, Brandy Frattini and Aubrey Verdes. Welcome, both of you.
Thank you. Hey, everyone. My name is Brandy Frattini. I am the Talent Acquisition Manager here at Career Builder. I am based out of the Chicago office. I've been in HR and talent acquisition space a little over 10 years. My role at Career Builder is really full circle for me. I've spent most of my career using Career Builder products, and now I not only use the products, but also play a part in bringing in the talent that builds, creates, and sells these products.
Hey guys, I'm Aubrey, a senior technical recruiter here at Career Builder. I'm based here in Atlanta. I've been here for almost 2 years. Because Career Builder is actually a company that is leading the way with AI technology, I actually get to be a part of those conversations with both the hiring manager and the candidate. So I'm actually also learning and developing within my own field too.
Collectively, you have conducted over thousands of interviews apiece. What are some of the characteristics that are really important in a qualified candidate?
But characteristics and some soft skills that really impress me when I'm talking to candidates are those of a strong communicator. I notice if a candidate is slow or unresponsive to my invites, maybe they don't call me back on time, maybe their email is delayed a few days. If they don't seem like they're really listening to me on the call or sincere in their responses, I know they're probably not the strongest communicator, which is really important in this step of the process. They should be trying to impress me and the hiring team. So if they're not impressing me now and communicating, they're probably not going to be responding or communicating to their new boss in this role. Another characteristic that really impresses me is one's ability to be resourceful. When a candidate tells me about an experience they had where they had to think outside the box or pivot when something wasn't going as planned, but still allow the business operations to flow as usual, I know they can take whatever's going to come at them in the role that I'm recruiting them for. Aubrey, what about you?
Thanks, Brandy. A trait that really impresses me is actually someone who is authentic, really can show their true self, maybe give some examples of some of their weaknesses, how they are improving on those weaknesses, someone who shows that they're open to feedback and constructive criticism and they want to improve and grow. It's actually great to talk to candidates that take initiative, someone who's researched the company a little bit, read thoroughly through the job description. They have their questions prepared, asking me next steps. Who's the hiring manager? What are the interview steps moving forward? Those that really stand out to me when I'm speaking to candidates.
During interviews, what's the recruiter strategy behind asking those types of situational questions? And what's your advice for successfully answering those questions?
Really, the strategy behind the recruiter asking those situational questions is we really just want to know specific examples so we can really evaluate if they would be able to handle that same situation within our work environment.
Let's say they're asking you a common one, which is, tell me about a time when you made a mistake at work. Candidates get really wrapped up in thinking, well, I never did that in my job. But you have so many other life experiences to fit into these situational questions. Take some time and think back of projects and places that you've been in your professional settings. Is there a time where you were in class in a group project and you made a mistake? Is there a time you were volunteering and you made a mistake and you were able to solve something out of it? Think about internships. Basically, any professional setting that you've been in, share the situation from that setting. It doesn't necessarily have to be from a work setting.
All right, next question. When recruiters are asking questions such as, why do you want to work for this company? What are you really looking for?
I ask this a lot. With this one, I'm trying to find out why you want to leave your current job or why you left your job if you're currently unemployed. This gives candidates the opportunity to share that maybe their current job just isn't the right fit for them for whatever reason they share. Or maybe they did get laid off a couple months ago and here's what they're doing in between those times. Maybe they had to leave to care for a family member. Their answers are just going to give myself and the hiring teams the background of why they're looking at this time. If the job I'm talking to them about is a next step in their career, so maybe more of a promotion, I want to hear why they are ready for that next step, and this is why they're looking. I can also catch when candidates start fumbling around. Maybe they didn't do their research about the company or the culture. They didn't check out our website ahead of time. In those cases, I might hear answers like, oh, my friend works there. It sounds cool. I want to come work there. Well, why? Did your friend tell you the culture was awesome or that there was some really great learning opportunities going on that specific team? So those are the responses that we want to hear and all those reasons why with that question. Aubrey, can you think of another common question that candidates might get?
One question that candidates may hear from really all industries is, what's your 5-year plan? Recruiters and even hiring managers ask this to really gauge their ambition level. Is the candidate realistic on what they can do in 5 years and what can happen in 5 years? What kind of goals do they have? So make sure you can give an answer how this job in particular can help you get to that 5-year goal. Is your 5-year goal to be a store manager? And this is the entry-level role. Share how you can really get there with school or experience that you can gain from that role. Another real just basic common tip is really research those common interview questions, practice them so you actually feel more prepared when going into that interview.
That's great advice. So Aubrey, let's turn the tables on you just a little bit. If I said, why should we choose you for this position? How would you recommend our job seekers answer that question?
So if I receive this question, let's say for a receptionist role, I would say, based on our conversation today and really what you have told me about the job and the research that I've done on the company, I actually understand that you're looking for someone with strong customer service skills, someone who's bilingual, and that can manage front desk functions. In my last role, I provided customer support to over 200 calls per day. I successfully managed the front desk at the New York office to actually support surrounding communities. And this role is exactly what I'm looking for to actually take that next step in my career to utilize my current skills and grow.
As you heard, Aubrey, the first thing she did was think about items in the interview that her and the manager talked about. She gave examples from the conversation and from the research she had done. So she knew that they needed someone that was bilingual. Maybe they didn't talk about it in the interview, but she saw that in the job posting. She mentioned that she had already managed a front desk before. So that was something else from the interview this manager had spoke to. She also spoke to why this was a fit for her and how it would help her achieve her goals and utilize her current skills. So this question can feel weird when you get that at an interview because you are comparing yourself to other candidates. You're trying to set yourself apart from these unknown competition, and you don't want to sound like a show off, but you do want to show your interest and reiterate why you are the best fit for the role. This one's a favorite amongst hiring managers, so it's definitely important to be well prepared on this one.
For folks who've never been on the HR side or the recruiting side, you think it's sort of an innocuous question, but really there's a lot of strategy that's involved in what you're listening for in their answers. Along those lines, how do you gauge a job seeker's interest in the position?
Recruiters and hiring managers can gauge candidates' interest based on the questions that they ask. They truly want to know more about the job and find out if it's a fit for them too. So maybe the candidate is asking, what's a normal day look like? What are some upcoming projects the team is working on? What software does this role use? All of those types of questions allow the managers or the recruiter see like, okay, this person really sees themselves in the role or they want to see themselves in the role.
Another one, I think body language is big. Body language lets us and the hiring manager know if they have an interest. If they seem fidgety or they're looking to get out of there quickly, seem disengaged, looking at their phone, or maybe it just seems like they're not interested or they have other options waiting for them. So I think body language and tone of voice is actually very big too.
Great advice just to be aware of it while you're conducting the interview so you are giving nonverbal cues as well as verbal cues. What kind of advice can you give to our job seekers to avoid those cringe-worthy responses to questions recruiters may ask you?
It's super important to show your personality, but show your best professional personality. Candidates do and will get very comfortable with their recruiters as well as the hiring managers, but don't forget to keep it professional. I've had situations where candidates overshare what they did over the weekend or why they're late. Keep it professional, but also show your personality too.
It's a good time to remind yourself too that when the hiring managers or the recruiters are asking you these interview questions, they want answers that relate back to your job. For example, a question I was asking when I was recruiting for classroom teachers was, how do you get your classroom ready in the morning? I'm looking for ways that they maybe organize the classroom. What's their process in checking their plans for the day? And I had a candidate share their morning routine, but that included their commute time, their coffee, their favorite creamer, all of those details, not what I was looking for.
Thank you so much. Okay, so our next question is that not all interviews are with a recruiter. Sometimes a candidate might meet directly with the hiring manager. What kind of questions are okay to ask a recruiter versus your hiring manager?
With this one, again, you'd want to stay professional with anyone you're talking through the recruitment process. When you're working with a recruiter, that is giving you the opportunity to ask most of your questions. Your time with the hiring manager is going to be short. They're probably very busy. The interviews that they're doing are very limited. So get the bulk of your questions out with the recruiter. The recruiter is the person you want to ask, what are the benefits of this job? What are the perks? Tell me about the compensation. Give me a basic job overview, company overview. Us, the recruiters, we can cover all that.
Like Brandon said, if you do get time with the hiring manager, take advantage of it. You don't want to ask them questions about PTO or anything like that. You really want to ask them specifics on what you're interviewing for, specifics about the job and projects, things that the recruiter definitely will not specialize in.
Let's say you did a great job in the interview. You really impressed the hiring manager and the recruiter. Interview's over. Now what? What do you need to do as a follow-up?
My best advice is always send a thank you. Now, I would send it digitally just because a handwritten note may get lost in the mail room, or by the time the manager gets it, the decision might have already been made. If you don't have the hiring manager's email and you have the recruiters, just send the thank you to the recruiter and just ask them to forward it on to the hiring manager.
Yeah, agreed. The quickest way is going to be over email to share your thanks. You can do that the second you step into the elevator or get down to the lobby of the building or get out to your car. Send it while it's fresh in your mind. You just had this awesome conversation with the hiring manager. Refer to something that you guys spoke about in the interview so they know you're really paying attention. Hiring managers do follow up with the recruiters quite a bit to say, hey, did so-and-so send a thank you? Who sent a thank you out of my group of interviews yesterday? So it is something that teams still look for.
If you had some last-minute advice for our job seekers, what would it include?
I would definitely just say practice, practice, practice. Prepare, do your research on the job, the company, anything you can think of.
Exactly. And that goes for dress code too. Maybe you're going to an interview at a startup, so you may think it's really casual. Show up dressing your best. Always can be safe wearing business or business casual. Ask your recruiter if you just are not sure and you want to know exactly the best way to show up. Keep in mind that when hiring managers and recruiters have interviews or they're greeting their candidates, we also take extra time that day to get ready and look our best for the candidates. So you don't want to show up as the candidate and you're way underdressed. Overdressing never should be an issue, so overdress.
As you know, we have a lot of folks who have been displaced because of COVID-19. So I'd love to ask you just a few additional questions. Have some of the interview questions that you're asking candidates have changed? And if they have, what are the differences between questions you were asking pre-COVID-19 and then now?
Over the past month or even more for some areas, the interview process has had to go digital. Keep in mind that not only is this a shift for the candidate to be on screen, it's a shift for the hiring teams to be on screen as well. Not every company is maybe equipped to be doing all of these digital interviews. So it's new for everyone. It's really just our new normal to be doing this process digitally.
Recruiters and hiring managers, we're not necessarily asking different questions, but we're preparing them differently. Managers and candidates should really still prepare for these interviews as if they're in person. Some big tips that I can give with the virtual interview is really just check your technology. Make sure you connect to the video, the audio. Technological glitches can happen, so just be prepared for those as well. Prepare your interview space so you feel comfortable. Background's professional.
What advice would you give to some employees who've been displaced during this time? How can they keep their skill set sharp, and what can they do to keep themselves productive?
This is a great question, and I believe it's going to be a common question once we get through this. That's going to come up after COVID, where recruiters and hiring managers are going to say, okay, I see you were off for a couple months. What was going on during that time? And I don't think they're going to want to hear what you binge watched. I mean, maybe they do. Some ideas right now is that there are a ton of online resources that are free trials. Colleges and universities are offering free courses. It's just a really good time to explore that. This is the time to add more bullets and more ideas to your resume. Build your resume out during this time if it's kind of feeling weak. My friend is learning basic German, and she's also picking up hobbies to deliver some baked goods at hospitals. So even things like that might not necessarily be fit for your resume, it's something that's showing that you gave back to the community during this time and were able to serve people that are out there on the front lines. A previous coworker of mine, he's implementing Zoom on his team. It was something they had never done before. They hadn't done the virtual conversations. He's adding that experience to leading his team during this time. Aubrey and I are playing around with these different webinars and online trainings and learning new ways to speak to our candidates. So it's definitely a time to explore and learn new experiences and grow during this time. And if your answer is, I had to take those 3 months and step back and care for my family, that's totally okay too. That is the reality for so many people during this time.
Thank you both so much for taking the time to share your experiences with our job seekers. And for you job seekers out there, if you would like some additional information on virtual interviewing tips or job search tips, please go to our website at careerbuilder.com, and we have a ton of resources available.